project, so I'll be getting to talk to you guys more.
Good.
Great to know.
Welcome back.
Okay, the stream is live now, Wade. I'm gonna make you the host again, and Max is gonna assist you, so I'm gonna make him a co-host. Okay.
Yeah, I already did that, in fact.
Okay, that's fine now.
Okay. So Sharon, you're here to help with any tech problems.
Yeah, doing check-in. How have you been?
Good. Good.
Good. What's the name of your little one? I see him all the time. I've never asked.
Oh, that's Elsa Marie.
Okay, I'll have to send you a picture of my little girl. She's about that size, but she's very different coloring.
Yes, it's my baby.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
All right, let me get the camera up and going and get right. Good morning, Claudia. Can you hear me?
Good morning.
Hi, welcome.
Yes, beautiful day.
It's a beautiful day here in North Carolina. Where are you calling from?
Yeah, New Jersey.
Time for some nice spring weather.
Yes.
All right. Hi, Renee. Hi, Nancy.
Okay, yeah, there
Oh, there's Sandra. Morning, Sandra. And there's Renee. How are you,
Yeah.
Renee?
Hello. Good morning.
Josie. Good morning, Josie.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hi, Elizabeth. How are you?
I'm getting there. How are you?
Good. Oh, it's early Monday morning. It takes a little while to get everything working.
It does.
Good morning. This is Carolyn Bean. How's everyone today?
Doing
Carolyn.
well.
Good.
Good.
Good. Welcome.
Thank you.
Appreciate everybody getting up going early on a Saturday morning.
Oh, it's Saturday where you
How
are?
about
Oh, Saturday.
How about a Monday
There's-
morning?
Shows you where my mind is, doesn't it?
You're
We
about
all
to
run
scare
together.
me.
They all
Okay.
look the same.
Great if it was Saturday, but
Oh gosh, I thought I had really missed a couple.
yeah, like woo.
I
Okay.
did make you
another
stop and think,
Saturday.
didn't I?
Excellent.
You
Hi,
did that on
Janet.
purpose, didn't you, Wade?
Oh, how are you, Janet? And hey, Bobby. Let's see, so I've got actually I've got 3 Janets in the class today.
Wow. Okay.
This is Janet Day. So there's Janet Bruin. Welcome. So you're here too. And Carol, welcome. See you. Is that there's Wendy. I saw Wendy's chair, but there's Wendy in it. Let's see. Pat, are you there? Okay. All right. Great. So just checking, make sure you can all hear me and that I can hear you. Hi, Anita. Good morning. Where's Anita's coming in?
Good morning.
Morning, Anita. Mary?
Good morning. This is Kat. Good morning.
Hi, Kathy. How are you?
Great. Thank you.
Welcome. Glad to have you.
I'm glad to be here.
Yolanda, how are you this morning?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing great. Thanks. I figured out what day it is, but I'm good now. Tracy, you there? Let's see, I got Pat.
I'm here.
Okay, all right, great. Let's see.
How long is this class going to last?
It is an hour.
Okay.
All right, I think I've heard from everybody. Anyone that's not showing the, oh, there's Noreen. How are you? Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay.
Good
so,
morning.
almost everybody is showing their camera this morning. That is great. It's always nice to see everybody. Makes it feel like a family group here. Anyone that's not showing their camera, if you'd like to, it's down in the bottom left if you're on a computer. Maybe somewhere else if you're on a smartphone or a tablet, but it's right beside the mute, unmute, start video. So if you would like to share your video, please go ahead. It's not mandatory, especially early in the morning. But we would love to see you if you want to share your image. Let me turn my phone off here. So, okay, that's done. All right, we usually take the first 4 to 5 minutes and give people a chance to get logged in, get their technology working, and say hi. And we are about at that point. I'm going to go ahead and start with some of the housekeeping issues I need to do. And then we'll jump into the actual agenda. Let me just make that change there. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and share my video. And move your pictures around over here so I can see them. There you all are. Nice looking group. Okay. Okay, well, there's Wilsie. I see you've come in. Welcome. We'll probably have a few more people joining us. A few more people signed up, but we're going to go ahead and get started. So I got pictures organized. I'm going to pull this down. I will be muting periodically during the class. Whenever I start to hear any background noise, I will go ahead and mute everyone. So just a reminder that when you ask your question or make a comment, be sure to unmute yourself first. So I'll hear your question or comment. No need to raise your hand or anything. Just go ahead and unmute and ask away. We also have Max here joining us from support, who's going to help me with the chat. I'm going to go ahead and I have opened up the chat over here. So if you are having problems with your microphone, you can always use the chat. But if your microphone's working, just go ahead and ask your question out loud. That way everybody else can hear your question and I'll hear it as well. Pat asked a question. Yes, I'm going to cover that in the class. Okay, so that's the housekeeping issues. Yes. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. So this is Google Docs Basics. Welcome all of you. Thanks for coming this morning. My name is Wade Yarbrough and I'll be the guide for this session. Very briefly, a little bit about me. I'm from Mason, Tennessee. It's a small town in Western Tennessee. I have a PhD in experimental psychology and have taught psychology at various colleges, but spent most of my career installing and training users how to use hospital information systems, training nurses and doctors. So I've done a lot of adult education, but what I love best about Get Set Up is that I'm teaching people like you that are here because you want to learn the topic, not because your employer is making you take the class or it's a required class for your degree in college. And that's really what Get Set Up is all about, creating an environment where people can come and learn new skills with other people that are interested in the same thing, interact with the guide and interact with each other. There's lots of cases where someone will ask a question in class and I don't know the answer, but someone else in class does. And so that is great. I keep learning as well as all of you. The session is being recorded And any participant can request a copy of that recording. All you have to do is send an email to help@getsetup.io. I'm going to put that in the chat if I can type. There we go. So if you don't already have that in your email contacts, go ahead and put that in there. I'll tell you several other scenarios where you're going to want to use that email when we do the closing for the class. We're also live streaming this morning. So anyone that is joining us via live stream, we want to welcome you to the class as well. Thanks for joining us. Hope you enjoy it. But also encourage you to go ahead and register for a class. And that way you can interact directly with the guide and with the other learners in the class and get the full Get Set Up experience. And finally, Get Set Up is not paid to promote any of the products that we train on. We are purely trainers. And there was a question about what live streaming is. And live streaming is you're basically watching it like it's on television. During the closing, I'll show you how to get to the live streaming on our website. It's called TV on the website. It's down the bottom left-hand corner where you can watch, but the guide can't see you and you can't ask questions of the guide. We also live stream on Facebook as well. Okay, so the agenda for today is how to find and open Google Docs is one of the things you're going to learn. You're going to learn how Google Docs compares to Microsoft Word. I think that's one of the questions that somebody had already asked. How to create a new blank document or how to start from a template, and then how to edit and format a document. And then we'll even show you how to take a Google Doc and convert it back to a Microsoft Word document. Working assumption here is that most people or more people probably have at least some passing familiarity with Word. And so I will draw a number of comparisons between Google Doc and Microsoft Word. They are very similar. So we'll start with that. In fact, Google Docs versus Google Word. So one of the big differences is that Google Docs runs as a web browser app. So it actually runs in a tab in your web browser, works on any web browser that you're using. So any device that you have that will run a browser, you can use it to get to Word. Whereas Windows is a program and it has to be installed on your computer, and it will run on Microsoft Word or on the Mac. So it does run in the Apple environment. Google Docs is completely free. That's one reason a lot of people are interested in Google Docs. Whereas Word is primarily accessed as part of Microsoft 365, which is a subscription of $69.99 per year. Now, for that, you also get all the other Microsoft Office products, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook, as well as 1 terabyte of OneDrive storage space. So it's a pretty good deal. But if you're not going to need all those other parts, Google Docs for free is a pretty good alternative. Microsoft Word also has more features than Google Docs. Microsoft Word's been around for a long time, so it has developed some features that Google doesn't have yet. But for most people, most individuals using it, you don't bump into those problems. If you're a power user, then you might notice it. And I'm going through the background material here fairly quickly, but please do stop if I go over something too quickly or you have a question around it. Just unmute and ask your question. So how do I get access to Google Docs? Well, first you have to have a Google account. And hopefully you all have a Google account already. If not, you can just watch the session today and even get a copy of the recording and then set up an account and try it after class. There is a class that I'll mention, and I'll mention it again in the closing, called Introduction to Google Apps, where it talks about how to create an account and how all the other apps that are available from Google, which is a good introductory class. Once you've got your Google account, you just need to launch Google Docs. There's really 2 ways to get to Google Docs. You can run the browser version that I was talking about, which is the primary way most people use it. That's how it's primarily designed to work, and that's what we're going to be using today. But there is also a Google app that you can get for an Apple product or an Android product, smartphone or tablet. Download it from the App Store. But the app looks and works differently than the browser version. So if you're trying to follow along It'll be easier to follow along if you're using the browser version. The app has a lot of the same functions and features, but they're different places and it looks a little different. And there's some things you can only do on the browser version. So the browser gives you the full functionality. All right, so I'm going to move this over a little bit. That may be a little hard to read, but this is mostly my cheat sheets. So I can open up Google here. And so again, once you've got your Google account, you can just go to www.google.com. If you don't have an account, come here as well, google.com. There'll be an option here to create an account or sign up, I think it says. If you already have an account and you're not signed in, there'll be a link to sign in. Once you're signed in, you'll be able to tell, it'll have your picture or initials up here. You can have more than one Google account. I have actually logged into 2 different accounts. I can toggle back and forth. This is my personal account. This is my Get Set Up account. I've got 2 other Google accounts. You can have as many as you want and work back and forth among the accounts. And in this icon, it's sometimes called the 9-dot icon. More often it's called the waffle because it looks a little bit like a waffle. This, and if you hover over any of the icons in Google, it'll tell you what it is. It says this is Google Apps. So if you click here, this shows you all the different apps that come with your Google account. And I said, we got another class that goes over all of these, explains what they are. But for today, we're worried about Google Docs. So we're going to come down here to Google Docs and click that. And that brings you to the Google Docs homepage. There's 2 primary sections to the homepage. One is for starting a new document. And if you're new to Google Docs, you've never used it, this is where you'll need to start. Once you've created some documents, the bottom section shows you all the documents that you have access to and helps you find those. So we're going to start at the top with creating a new document. And there are 2 ways to create a new document. You can start with just a blank sheet, which is what this one is. I'll click into there just to show you. But it, as it suggests, it is just a blank document where you can start typing. From any document, you can click this icon in the upper left. Again, hover over it. It says Docs Home. And it'll take you back to the home screen we were just on. The other way to start is by using a template. And there are a number of templates that'll show on the screen here, but you can open up the template gallery up at the top. And it will show you lots of different templates. What a template is, if you're not familiar with templates, is it's a pre-formatted document. It'll go ahead and have fonts and font sizes and other things to help you get started. So for instance, if you're going to write a resume, instead of starting with that blank page, it already lays out the typical sections you have in a resume. And you can see you got 4 different choices because there's different styles, different colors. So you can kind of flip through them and see which one you want to use. There's lots of letter templates as well, different types of letter, standard letter, business letter, more of a fun, informal letter, etc. Lots of work-related templates as well. So that's what templates are. I'm going to start with just a simple letter template, just to show you how it works. I'll click on that one. And so it has, like a green bar at the top. It has already highlighting font sizes, where you should put your name, where you should put the name of the person you're sending it to, etc. And you just go in and start filling in the blanks. Placing the place marker text with your information, put your street address, etc. Now, when you start with a template, it takes a copy of that template and puts it in as a document. And it has the same name as the template, but you're not editing that template. That template itself is read-only. So you probably want to change this and customize what this is. So this is a letter to Mary Smith. You don't have to change it, but usually if you're going to have more than one letter, you'd have to have some way to keep your different letters straight. And that's pretty much all it takes. When I'm done, what I can do, and I don't have to hit save. You'll notice there is no save button anywhere. In Google, you don't save. When you're finished, you can just click and go back home. It's now put this document down here so I can get back to it, work on it some more later because I wasn't finished with it yet.
Is there any way to revert to a previous version if you decide, oops, I didn't want to do that?
There is indeed. And I'll show you that in just a couple of minutes on another document. But yes, that is one of the advantages of doing it the way that Google does it, where you are letting it save automatically. You can go back to earlier versions.
Okay.
Yeah. And Microsoft is doing that now as well if you have OneDrive. Okay. So if there aren't any questions on creating a document, let's move down to the lower section here. And again, these are the documents that you've worked on that you may want to work on some more. Initially you won't have very many of them, but over time you'll have a lot. And so there's several ways to filter and manage that list of documents. First off, you can filter it by who owns it. You can have documents that you own. You can have documents that are not owned by me, which means these are documents that someone else owns, but they've shared that document with me. And I can either view that document or edit that document, depending on what the owner, what rights that owner has given to me. And we'll talk a little bit about sharing documents later in the class. Or you can just say, show me everything, owned by me or owned by someone else. And so if it's owned by me, it says me over here. If it's owned by someone else, it says who owns it. This little icon says it's also being shared. So that means that that document is shared by at least 2 people, could be more than 2. And then you can also sort the documents. And there's several ways to sort. Right now it's sorted by last opened by me. It puts that here so I know how it's sorted. Last modified by me, last modified by anyone, or alphabetically by title. And the reason this one is coming up first, there's a blank that you can't see. It's blank R, which is a trick some people use to make something come to the top. So it's not a bug in the system. That really is sorted correctly. I'm going to put it back to last opened by me. That's the way I usually set mine up. So any questions about any of that so far? A couple other things here I want to show you quickly, then we'll move on. But you may have noticed there's a triple dot over here on the far right. If you click that, it has an option to rename something. You can delete it. They use the word remove, same thing. Or I can open it in a new tab. So there's 2 ways to open the document. You can open it, if I click open in a new tab, you'll notice that it opened a new tab up here in my browser. So I've still got where I was over here in this tab. Now I've got Mary Smith's letter in another tab. If I just click on the document, it will open it in the current tab. So it's now replaced the home page with this document. Sometimes there's good reasons to have it open in another page. Maybe there's a lot of stuff in this letter to John Jones that I want to copy over and put in this letter, so I can open them both. Then I can copy from here and come over and paste it into this one. So that's one of the reasons why sometimes I'll open up multiple tabs and have different documents in each tab so you can move things around.
So I have a quick question.
Sure.
When you are saying someone gave permission, to use a document back in your menu, template menus, I don't get that. That's the part about Google that I know everything there is to know about, Word, but Google Docs I've never used. And I don't understand how the library is set up.
Yeah, I'm going
Who-
to demo that sharing later in the class. So maybe hold that question. And then we've got another whole hour-long class on how to share and collaborate on documents with Google
Mhm.
that goes into great detail, because sharing the document is pretty simple. Keeping track, if you got multiple people editing the same document, keeping track of who made what edit when and how, that gets complicated. So that's what that other class goes into.
So the
But basic-
question, I don't know if I'm saying shared, but I think it's owned by who? Owned by anyone. That's the part throws me off every time.
Well, so if I own this document and I share it with you, then I own it, but you would see it on your list, but it would say owned by Wade Yarbrough over here.
So my documents are in a centralized public file.
It's not public. You have to share it. If you don't share it, nobody can see it.
That's what you're saying.
Yes, so you have to actually share it with someone else. And if you want to see someone else's document, they have to share it with you.
Can you organize into folders or somewhere? You've got a really long list here.
Yep, that's Google Drive, which again is another class you might want to take. So Google Drive is where you actually have everything stored from all your Google products, and you can set up ways to see those. But within each one of the products, like Docs and Sheets and Slides, it just shows you in this is the only view that you've got.
Okay.
And again, that introduction to Google Apps goes into a lot of that as well. So I don't have time in this class to get into Google Drive. That's an hour-long class in and of itself. But yeah, there is a way to get that. It's just in a different product. And if I click here, this is Google Drive is right there. So that's where they're stored. All right. So let's move on. Because there's several other things I want to show you. One other thing I want to show you before we leave this page, and that is importing a document from Word. So that's the other way to get something into Google Docs that you can work on. And if you're a person that works with Word, or lots of times, even if you don't, somebody else may have a Word document that they send to you and you want to look at it and edit it. So to do that, you use this last icon we haven't talked about yet, this little file folder up here. And if you click that, again, this gives you a link to Google Drive as well. And here's the folder. So this is where you can see into Google Drive from here. But what we want to do is get something that's not in Google. We want to go grab a Word document. And anytime you see the word upload, that means go outside of Google and bring in something from somewhere else. So I'm going to click upload, and I'm going to click select a file from your device. And I'm on a Windows laptop, so it opens File Explorer. So I can now grab a document from File Explorer from something that's either on my device or in one of my cloud drives. OneDrive is the Microsoft equivalent to Google Drive. It's a cloud drive. So I can go up here to BCC, which is a college where I was teaching some classes. And I'm going to grab my syllabus for a class I was teaching. This is an example. So this is a Word document you can see. I'm going to open it. And it's uploading that document into my Google Drive now, so I can get to it from my Google products. And there's the document. It was a Word document. It is now a Google Doc.
Is it no longer a Word doc, or do you have to save it first before you upload it?
It's a copy. So
okay, thank you.
That one I just grabbed is still sitting out there unaffected. I took a copy and converted it. So if I change this one, that one doesn't change. But I could go in now and change this one. So this was for the fall semester. I wanted to change this to be the spring semester and change the year to be 2021. So it's just like any other Google Doc at this point. I can do anything I want to with it. I did mention that there's some functions and features that Word has that Google doesn't yet have. And here's one. In Word, I could just click on these boxes and it would check which days of the week the class is. Those don't convert over, but it's pretty simple. There's usually pretty simple workaround. So instead of having check boxes, I could say the class is going to be on Tuesdays and Thursday and get the same effect without any big problems. For the most part, it converted over pretty clean, but just a word of caution, if you convert something, scan through it and make sure everything converted okay. If you're supposed to be able to enter text, make sure you can enter text, and I still can. If it's a very complex document, and this is a fairly complex document that I brought in because I wanted to show you that, there's a few little things you might have to do, but it converted pretty cleanly. If it was just a letter that you had typed, it would convert 100% clean. All right. Questions? Okay. All right, I see a question about the extension for Google Docs. There is, but again, the Google Docs are all stored in Google Drive, so it doesn't show you that extension, but it uses that same concept of an extension to tell you what kind of file it is. And you can see that in Google Drive. Okay, so let's move on. So we talked a lot about files, getting files, manipulating. Let's go into actually working with a file. So I'm going to first let's talk about what's called the menu toolbar. And if you use Microsoft, this is equivalent to the it's a much more simplified version of what you'd see with Microsoft Word. I think it's one thing that I like for Google, especially for people that are new, haven't been using a word processing program before. I think it's a lot easier to use. It works basically the same way. You've got tabs here, and you click on each one of the tabs. It'll show you which functions are in that tab, but it doesn't have quite as complex as the Microsoft does. And it's got a more extensive shortcut bar. So this is the shortcut bar. Most of the time, the things you need to use are here, so you don't have to go up into all these different tabs. You'll notice there is a triple dot over here. That means there's more. So there's additional parts to that toolbar. One of the main reasons there's so many here is I'm not using the full screen. If I had used full screen, I could see all these shortcuts and that triple dot goes away. But since I'm showing my slides as well as the Google Docs, it can't show everything, so it gives me this wraparound.
Wait, anything you are showing us in the top right corner, I only see you.
If you click up at the top on where it says view, you should see something saying view up in the top right, and click on that. It'll say side-by-side gallery.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
I'm on my phone, so.
Oh, okay. So maybe a little harder on the phone.
Yeah, that's okay.
Can you show us
I got
what that paint roller is? Icon?
Yep, we're going to get to that in a couple of minutes here. So,
Okay.
in fact, let's go ahead and go there next. So let's grab a document. I'm going to go back home again, just to show you that document we brought over is here now in my list of things I can work on. I'm going to bring up I'm going to start with a template, and I'm going to bring up start with this one. And then we're going to talk a little bit about how you can add, edit information. So this is a recipe, and I'm going to change the name of it. Oops, cap lock's on. I'm going to steal it. This works like if you've used Word, this is almost identical. And if you've even worked with emails and other places where you're editing text, it works very much the same way. So if I wanted to change this to be a different font color, I can just come over here and say, I don't like the red. Let's make it a dark blue instead. If I wanted to change the font over here, I can go in and change the font to be something different. and change the font size to make it bigger. So a lot of the things that you can do work the same here. The one that somebody was just asking about. So let me do this. I'm going to change the color for this one too. Let's make this one be that color instead. If I like the way this looks, but I've got some other sections that use the same one, what I can do, and this is the same as with Microsoft, you just highlight what you want to copy, and I want to copy this formatting down. This roller is the same as the paintbrush in Microsoft. I just click it, and then I say copy that down here, and it copied that new font size, and that new color down here. So it's a way to copy your formatting somewhere else.
So you highlighted it and then you just hit return, is that right?
You highlight it and you click the paintbrush.
Right, but then when you got to,
place it, hold the left mouse down and highlight where you want to put it.
Yes.
And then let it go.
Oh, you don't have to do anything, just highlight it and let go.
Yep. Yeah, you don't have to hit the keyboard at all. So it's all done with the mouse.
Okay.
Oh, and one thing that's nice is if I said, oops, I didn't want to do that, or I do it and I say, that doesn't look so good. Here's the undo. Puts it back like it was.
Okay.
So you can do, I think I already showed you, you can copy and paste. So again, most of the things you're used to doing, you can do. I can change this, and let's say I want it to be numbered instead of bulleted. I'm going to have to click down here, and here's now a numbered list instead of a bulleted list. Maybe I want to bold it and change the font color. So again, works very similar to other products. So it's one of the nice things I think that Google is very easy, because they didn't reinvent things. They use pretty much the same idea. Sometimes the font, the little icon is different, but it's the same idea. If I wanted to center this, I can just click the center and it centers it instead of left justifying it. What is a little different is the working with images, and that's why I picked this template. So let's say I want to change the picture. So I'm going to delete that picture. Here you need to come up to the menu and click Insert. And I'm going to click Image. And I've got lots of options here in terms of importing images. I can actually go out to the web and find stock photos. So if I click Search the Web, and this is a pancake recipe, so I'm looking for pancakes. So I'll just type pancake, and it brings up different stock images for pancakes off the web that I can use. So maybe I like that one. So I'm going to click that one, come down here where it says Insert down at the bottom right, click Insert, and it's imported that picture into my pancake recipe. If I took a picture of my own pancakes and I want to put that in there, you can go and grab something off of your device. Here I'm going to insert image. Remember, I said anytime you see the word upload, that means you can go and pull it off of your computer. So I can come down here. Let me see where I may have some pictures. Now this isn't pancakes, but it gives you the same idea. There's pickles instead. So let's say I was doing a pickle recipe, how to make bread and butter pickles. So you can bring in a picture that you've taken with your phone. Questions?
So when I've been having difficulty just doing simple email stuff and trying to insert pictures and not being able to place them as I want. Is there any, are there any constraints about placing photos and their relation to text or other photos?
Yeah, and that's kind of what this down at the bottom, see right below the picture,
okay.
You can select inline,
yeah,
or you can select wrap text. And you can see now what it did. It took that text that was below it and it brought it up here to the side of it. So that's what wrapping text does. Or you can break the text. So there are several ways you can change how it does the text.
Okay.
That gets a little more complicated because again, depends on the where it is.
And if you had more than one photo, does each one have their own options like this?
Uh-huh. Yeah,
Okay.
so I could throw a picture over here. Let me do a different. The other thing you can do with pictures, if you use Google, it's very easy to get to your Google Photos. This is what this is. These are Google Photos. So I could come into here and I don't have any pictures of food, but I'll get my dog with her little crown on. And you can do a lot of the same things you can always do. You can resize the picture, but then again, I've got that option where I could have the text come around the side of the picture or have it be, move the text to be above and below it, etc.
Is there a way to group photos, to group images? Once you've got them placed and you don't, you don't want future changes to interfere with the placing?
I'm not sure about that. There may well be. There's lots of features in here that, but I don't know that one anyway.
Okay.
Probably is. Yeah.
Could I ask you a little bit about share?
We're going there, and I think the next slide.
Okay, good.
Two more
Good,
slides.
good. Okay.
We're getting there. Let's get there because there've been lots of questions around there. But again, I am going to refer you to that other class for lots of the details. But let's close the loop here quickly, and then we got time left to talk about sharing. So I'm done with this, and I'm showing this to a friend of mine, and they say, "Wow, that's a great recipe. Can I get a copy of it?" And I say, "Sure," but they say, "But I don't use Google. I use Word. Can you give me this as a Word document?" To do that, I come up here under File. Oh, and let me go and do this. I'm going to come back and answer a question that came up earlier that I didn't go into. The version history is here. I might be able to show it here, but there's I've got one that has a better view of that. So here I can see the version history. And I can go back to how it looked when I started.
Mhm.
Or I've got what it looks like currently. And so that's the version history. I've got one with more version history that makes that a little easier to see, but that's, somebody was asking, can you go back to an earlier version? And I've done that frequently where either I've made a change and I don't like it, or just want to go back to an earlier version and restore it. But let's stick with the topic here. Right beside it is download. So I want to download it. I can download it in multiple formats. You can do it as a PDF or an ODT for those of you who use some of the open format word processing. But here I'm going to do it as a Word document. So that's what my friend wants. It defaults to saving it as a file. I could also open it with Word, but I don't want to open it. I just want to save a copy of it. And I say, okay. And it's downloading. It actually puts it in File Explorer in your downloads. And let me grab it, open that over my other screen. Here it is over here. Go to my downloads, and there's Wade's Pancake Recipe in Word format. So I could then email this to her, put it on a thumb drive and hand it to her, however I wanted to get that Word document to my friend, but it is now sitting on my computer as a Word document. Questions on that?
I don't have a question on that. This is Anita, but I do have a question on the fonts. So if the fonts that are available to me in Google and I save the document in Word and say, for instance, maybe they don't have that particular font, would it just revert back to whatever the default font is, or?
Good question. I think what it does, most of these are smart enough to know what a very similar one would look like.
Okay.
So it would
Okay.
pick so if Microsoft didn't have this exact font, it would probably pick something, and it would use the same sizes for sure. But that's a good question. But if there's one that, and I'm guessing these fonts, these aren't developed by Microsoft and Google. These are fonts developed by other people. So they're probably pretty common across both products.
Okay, and so I'm looking at your list of fonts, and I was gonna ask, were those like just available to everyone or? Okay,
Yep, this is all in there. I haven't done anything.
okay,
There
good.
probably are ways to bring in other fonts into Google.
Good, you're not sitting with your legs crossed.
Okay,
All right.
all right, thank you.
Sure.
Hey, Wade, is this a good time to ask before you go to sharing about deleting? Let's say that I just want to delete a document because maybe I have it so many ways. I know what happened to me. Well, first of all, is this a good time to ask, or?
Yeah, because we're right
something
here, and
that's
that is quick because all you do is just go down here to move to trash, and it'll put it in the trash bin, so it deletes it.
So move
Now,
to
it
trash.
works like pictures do, so it doesn't delete it. It puts it in a trash bin. So if you change your mind, you've got 30 days to pull it out of the trash bin and get it back. But that's
So how did you get to it? Where did you go?
click on the file.
Oh, file. Okay.
File and move to trash. And if you're back, and I'll show you next time we go back to the home, you can also delete it from the home list as well.
Okay, because I had a problem with having so many documents, the same thing, because I was saving them and it saved all over the place.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, wow, I need to delete some of this. And
Yeah.
I didn't do
go
it
here
because
while
I
we're talking
didn't
about
want
that,
to
then
mess
we'll come
it up.
back. But so you can, from over here, you just either click this triple dot and remove, or you can right click and remove.
Okay.
So it's probably faster to do that than open every one of them and delete it from inside the document, but you can do it
Mhm.
either way.
All right.
I saw under file, it said publish to web. Is that if you had something that you wanted to publish to a Facebook group or something?
That's more, they will actually publish it to the web so other people can get to it through the web. That's beyond what we're going to cover in this class. We're working on a intermediate class, so that's something we'll probably look at there. But yeah, that is publishing it as a website that you could then share that URL with someone else so they could get to it. Yeah. Okay, let's do the sharing because we've had a lot of sharing questions that I don't want to run out of time before we do that, because this is pretty quick, and then we'll take just general questions after that because this is the last slide. But I'm going to continue my scenario that another friend wants my recipe, but they are a Google person. So I'm just going to share it with them. So to do that, I come up here where it says share. And what I'm going to do is, so first, this is, let me see. Okay, hang on a second. All right. The person people want to share it with, you just put their email address in here. So I want to share it with Michelle. I can put her name in here. If I want to share it with some other people, I can type. If they're in my contacts, I can just click them out of here. If they're not in my contacts, I can just start typing their email address and type in their full email address. You can then determine what those people can do with this document. Can they edit it? Can they comment on it? Or can they just view it? So in this scenario, and in most scenarios, what I do is I give view privileges. That way that person can open my document and then they can do a save as and save a copy of it. And then they can change their copy, but they're not changing my copy. So I don't want them to mess up my copy. I'm just letting them make a copy of it. And then they've got their own version. They can change it to their heart's content. If I make them an editor, that person can change it, change my version. So you may want to do this if you're collaborating with someone on a document. You can have multiple people editing the same document at the same time. And then commenting means you can add comments, but you can't change the document itself. So you pick which one of these you want. And then you can put a message here. And hit send, and it'll send them an email with a link back to your document.
How do you create a group?
That's that other class that you're
Okay.
getting into the collaborating and multiple people editing at the same time and figuring out who edited what when and who gets to decide what you keep is an hour discussion. So that's way more than we can get
Thank
into
you.
here. But there is another class called Sharing and Collaborating with Google Docs. I'll show you that one again at the end of the class that goes into that in detail. Other questions? So that's sharing. Again, sharing it is pretty simple. Tracking collaboration is more complicated. And getting a link is, I think somebody brought something like this earlier, but say I want to share this with a bunch of people in a Facebook group. I could copy the link and then post it to the group. And if there's 50 people in the group, I could post that link to all 50 people. So maybe the group is a cooking group. So instead of having to put 50 email addresses in here, I could just copy the link, go over to Facebook and post it to that group. That's just a copy and paste. All right, we got time for a couple of questions. We're about to run out of time, but let me just throw it open to general questions.
I'm sorry, but wait, but you've given us so much.
I know.
So in this, the sharing that you just showed us, how did you get there?
There's two ways. If you've got the document open, and this is the easiest way to just click up here where it says share.
Okay.
Yeah, I know it's that's one reason we do the recording. So this is when you may want to get the recording and come back and look through it again and try some of these things while we got the recording up to take a look at it. But yeah, there's a lot here, especially if you're not new. I do think Google's fairly easy once you kind of memorize. You got a lot of these icons that you have to kind of play with. Again, if you hover over anything, it tells you what it does. So that's what makes it easier if you don't know how it works.
If we have a question later, can we contact you or do we just?
You have to send it to help@getsetup.io, that same email address I put in there, and they'll get it to someone.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Okay. Time for one more question. All right. Let me go into the closing if there's no other questions about Google Docs, because there's a number of things I mentioned we're going to talk about at the closing. So let me go and get this out of the way so it's not distracting. So, but this is the end of the actual class. So again, I know I've shown you a lot of things there, but I hope you did enjoy the class and learn some things about Google Docs. And there are a couple of related classes that I've mentioned several times. There's that introduction to Google Apps, which is the one that goes over all the things in that listing.
Could I ask you a question
All
about
of these? Yep, go ahead.
Could I ask you a question about the collaboration to send out? Is that something that you do like MailChimp would do or Constant Contact?
Well, you could take a link and send it out any way you want to send the link out.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's what that getting a link does. It just gives you a link to that document, and you can post it on Facebook. You can put it on a website. You could email it out to a group of people.
Okay, great, thanks.
Yeah, sure. Okay. And then, the one, again, there's been a lot of interest in this one. So creating collaboration using Google tools. And the good thing about it is that whether you're using Docs, which is the same as Microsoft Word, or Sheets, which is the same as Excel, or Slides, which is the same as PowerPoint, collaborating and sharing works exactly the same in all three. So once you've learned it for one, you've learned it for all of them. So this class basically goes over using how it works and what she trains you on in that class. Covers all the Google products. A couple of other, and I just mentioned these, but a couple other classes are the Google Sheets class, which is Excel if you're a Microsoft person, and Google Slides, which is PowerPoint. So if you're interested in seeing the rest of the Google suite, those are the other two classes there. And we do hope that if you're enjoying the classes, that you share your experience on the social media, if you're comfortable doing that. And you can share that on Facebook or Instagram or whichever ones you're using. If you aren't comfortable doing that, you can send an email to Liz at getsetup.io with what you'd like to share, and she will post that for you. In terms of closing, I want to make sure everybody knows what happens after the class, especially if you're new to Get Set Up. You're going to get an email after class, and it's going to have several sections in it. There'll be some key takeaways from the class, as well as links to several different websites. Some of that will go over the things we talked about in class, so you can see that again, as well as some additional related material that we didn't cover in this class. There'll be links to 3 other classes. If you click that link, it'll take you directly to the sign up page for that link. So it's a very good shortcut. There's a give feedback link. If you click that, it'll take you to our feedback page. 2 questions, rate the class and rate the guide, 1 to 5 stars in each case. There's a comment section where you can add comments, not required, but greatly appreciated, and hit done and you're finished. Now, we hope you're enjoying Get Set Up and interacting with the Get Set Up community. And if you want to get more involved, there's a number of ways to do that. One is you can just spread the word by letting other people know about Get Set Up so that they can take some of our free classes as well. If you want to be part of an interest group, and there's lots of interest groups out there, I'll show you those in a minute. But if there's an interest group you would like to host, we would love to hear about that and help you get that set up. And to do that, it's that same email we've been talking about, help@getsetup.io. If there's a class you'd like to see us offer, you can send us an email at help@getsetup.io with the class you'd like to see, and we will take a look at adding that. A lot of the classes we're offering now came from this feedback. And again, to get a copy of the recording, same thing, help@getsetup.io. Be sure to list the name of the class and the date you attended it, because only people that attend the class can get a copy of it. And the last link.
Wade, I've noticed that on the chat, a few people have asked for a recording in the chat. Does that actually work, or do you have to email?
You have to email.
Thank you.
Because I can't do that. We got another group that does that. So yes, if you want a copy of the email of the recording, you've got to send that help@getsetup.io. And okay, the last link is called View Schedule, which takes you to our website where you can book another class. And we changed our website obviously a few weeks ago. Hopefully everybody's getting more comfortable with it. Just want to point out a couple of things to make sure you know where they are if you haven't found them. Right in the middle of the home screen here, there's a link to view my complete schedule. So if you click that, it'll take you to Schedule My Schedule, which shows you all of your classes you're signed up for. And you can click there to launch one of those classes. So you can still search by schedule by clicking on the browse here and just look and see by date what are we offering today, for example. You can also search. I find that's the easiest way to find something if you know what you're looking for. So if you're trying to find that collaboration class, you can type COL up, start typing collaboration, and there it is, sharing and collaborating with Google. So that's another easy way to find a class. Let me click into, when you're into a class, a couple of new things I want to show you. We got a couple minutes left. We're doing great with time. So you're going to sign up for this Gmail Useful Things class, but you've got a couple of friends maybe that you know use Gmail and you want to tell them about it. Maybe you all want to go to the same class. That's what this Tell a Friend About the Class link is over here. If you click that, You can send information via Facebook, WhatsApp, or just send them an email. And it will have a link to the class that you're going to sign up for. So you can say, hey, let's all take this class together. Or maybe it's a class that you've already taken and you liked it and you want to let another friend know about it. You can go to that class. In this case, you could go back into the one we just took, Google Docs. And click here and say, hey, I just took this class. I think you would enjoy it. It saves them having to go and search for it. All right. And I'm going to go back to where I was. The last thing is that there is a section now about the guide that some people had asked for. They want to know more about the guides and also other classes that guide teaches. So if you go to this tab and click other classes I teach, in this case, these are my classes. So it'll show you the other classes that I'm teaching in the next couple of weeks. So if you'd like to take another one of those classes, and I would love to see you in one of the classes, you can just come here and click book that class. Okay, so we are done with 1 minute left. So I do want to thank you all for attending the class. Hope you enjoyed it as much as I did, and hope to see you again in another class really soon. Thanks,
Thank you
everybody.
very much.
Thank you very much.
Have a great day.
Thank you.
You too.
Bye
You
now.
Bye-bye.
too. Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye-bye. Bye.